Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, America's #1 trusted resource for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Starring award-winning real estate coaches Tim and Julie Harris. Get ready for unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what is truly working to get you into action and make you money in this new real estate boom. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris. And welcome back to Real Estate Coaching Radio, everyone. We are joined today by Danny Loschiavo, the co-founder of BoldLeads, a real estate lead generation company specializing in seller leads. BoldLeads uses a cost-effective approach to lead capture that helps agents identify prospective sellers and easily generate a large volume of quality leads. Danny has managed over $10 million in advertising for thousands of successful real estate campaigns, both online and offline. And in addition to joining us today to discuss the BoldLeads platform, he's also going to provide us with some valuable tips on how any agent can generate more leads for less money and turn more leads into listings. Now, let's welcome Danny to the call and join our host, Tim Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. I appreciate it. So, Danny, let's just jump right in. One of the main reasons that we wanted to have you as a co-host, as a guest, is because your company is focused primarily on generating seller leads. And that's really the primary focus of a lot of folks, agents that join our coaching organization, is they want to learn how to be listing agents. It's sort of like the buyer lead thing is, I don't know, hopefully that horse is headed for the horizon, and agents are waking up to the fact that if they're going to if they're going to last in this industry, they have to learn to be listing agents. So for that, I think that our listeners are going to really benefit from what you have to offer. So what is BoldLeads, and what inspired you to start the company?
So thanks for having me, first of all, Tim. Appreciate it.
Sure.
So BoldLeads it's pretty straightforward. It's just a platform that allows agents to generate listing leads, and then has a follow-up system built in that helps them follow up in a way that sellers actually respond to. So the whole idea behind it was there's all these different ways to generate leads, postcards, pay-per-click, all this different stuff. So what we do is we test out basically everything, and then we systemize the options that work the best. So we try to offer the simplest way to get the most leads for the least amount of money in the least amount of time in any market. So the whole idea is we make it very simple to set up and get going. Most of our clients get going. They start generating leads within the first hour of signing up, and they average about 53 seller leads a month. The reason we started BoldLeads is actually founded by myself and my mom, who's a real estate broker in Arizona. I've been managing real estate marketing campaigns for a while, since freshman year at college. So I've basically seen a ton of different companies, and there seems to be a trend where they don't really care about the clients. They don't care about the client success. They rely on these really high-pressure phone tactics, and their support doesn't really respond. The leads are sent out to 5 or 6 agents at the same time, and their prices keep going up. So the agents are getting the short end of the stick with basically the majority of these programs. So I saw that as a huge problem. And then the other reason is that because I've seen all these different things that work and what doesn't work, I'm big into trend spotting. So I see these upcoming trends as they're coming in different industries, and then I apply those trends to real estate. So we're usually ahead of the curve when it comes to new techniques and that kind of thing. So we pair the good service and the family business concept with awesome technology, optimized ad campaigns, landing pages, follow-up, the whole shebang, and with the new trends. So we have the full picture, so that it's a win-win-win for everybody around.
Well, so I was listening, and I wrote some notes on some of the things you said, and yeah, trend spotting, I appreciate that, because really the trend for agents that are going to survive in the next evolution of this, real estate recovery into this new real estate boom are definitely those that are learning how to be listing agents. And without naming names, we are constantly rallying against these companies that do use high-pressure phone tactics, do demand agents sign long-term contracts to buy ever decreasing, in terms of the quality of the buyer leads. So yeah, man, we're on the same page. I really appreciate that. And so I'm kind of curious. This wasn't, listeners. We always have our guests prepared with questions ahead of time, but since Danny brought this up, I'm going to ask him. Trend-wise, what are you seeing? I mean, you're obviously from your bent is more of the technical and analytical. I'm just curious what you're seeing as far as emerging that you think would be it's going to go from a trend to something that's going to be big, say, in a year in the real estate lead generation space.
Oh yeah. So what's cool is you can see see them coming. They get popular in these other niches with either internet marketing or different insurance or mortgage or whatever. So right now, Facebook's the big thing. Everybody's talking about Facebook ads. Very few people are actually doing them correctly and getting the results that they should be, just because people hop on to the trend, doesn't really work, and they move on to the next thing. So Facebook ads are huge right now, and they work really well. Some other things that are coming up probably in the next 6 to 12 months that we're actually building a whole new platform for these are just native advertising in general. So native ads are this huge trend where you see, sites like BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, Forbes.com. A lot of that stuff is paid content. So you can actually get an article on one of those sites for a very small amount of money and drive traffic to that, which not only gets you
dude, hold on for a second. You just said something that was just really very interesting. So you're saying, I suspected this, Danny, but I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know it. So you're saying basically I'll admit that I was ignorant about this. You're saying that basically an agent could hypothetically, I assume that there's some control of the quality of the content that they're producing, and maybe they even hire a professional copywriter to write this for them, or at least a reporter. But you're saying somebody could pay to have an article featured on Huffington Post?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
How much does that cost? How much does that cost?
Well,
do you know?
It ranges. What I usually do is I'll hire someone who's like a copywriter who already has published articles on there, because you need to be approved as an author. But basically, they'll approve anybody as long as you can speak English. So what's cool though is that you can build in your call to actions, that kind of thing, within the article. So if you're targeting Phoenix distressed sellers, you could write this killer article. But if you publish it on your blog, 5 or 10 people are going to see it unless you have huge traffic. But if you publish it on, Forbes or Huffington Post or BuzzFeed or one of these sites that gets massive traffic in every area, you're going to see a bigger return from that. And then also you can leverage that article even further there's companies like Outbrain that will distribute it to, millions of people in your area. So you can target it pretty specifically.
Well, it's a killer way of building reputation, too. And I'm not talking online reputation, though. Obviously, you get that benefit. But just from a listing agent's perspective, like if your mom's going on a listing presentation and she can whip out this folder of all these highfalutin places that have published her content, you're really validating the fact that she is a real estate expert. And the next guy that comes in and talks about his fancy virtual tours is kind of toast, isn't it?
That's true.
I mean,
that's a great point.
Long story short, but getting back to cost, do you have any idea? Assuming you hook up with an already approved writer and all that, what does something like that typically cost? Because all of our listeners are going to want to know.
Yeah, it's probably like between $50 and $100. I'm trying to remember what it was last time. It wasn't that much though for what you get.
So when you say
native, is to leverage it.
Okay, so when you say native advertising, what you're referring to basically is stealth marketing in essence. You're not talking about running ads per se. You're talking about writing articles that have, it's essentially what copywriters have been doing for a long time, right? Writing a long form kind of elegant sales letter that doesn't really jump out at you and grab you by the throat and act like a sales letter. That's kind of what you're describing, correct?
Yeah, so the trick is, and it kind of always has been, but a lot of people just haven't caught on to that, is to disguise your ads as content. And that's why Facebook ads work so well, because they look like they're quality content, and that's why people click them and engage with them. Same with like LinkedIn and Twitter, which are upcoming players as well. The more it looks like something that people can take a bite out of, like a video or an article of some sort or a listicle, the better it's going to perform. Because if it looks like an ad, people are going to try to avoid it.
So why do you focus on, obviously the path has been proven to generate buyer leads, but you're focusing on the seller leads, which is unquestionably the harder animal to hunt. So why are you focusing on seller leads as opposed to buyer leads?
Well, listings are kind of the gold of real estate. It's how agents become, the dominant agent in their market. That saying Gary Keller always says, list to last. You have to build up an inventory to really dominate an area. But it's incredibly hard to do it, especially if you're a new agent or if you're not really sure and you don't want to really go door knocking or start cold calling expireds necessarily. It's a pain. It's hard to do. So that's what we're trying to simplify, that whole process, just by thinking outside of the box a little bit, some of the different techniques.
Do you think that the big lead selling portals, we'll call them Zillia, do you foresee that they're going to try to get heavily into the selling leads into the business, selling seller leads into the business?
Yeah, Trulia just announced that they're doing seller leads a couple months ago. I'm not sure if Zillow is, but I'm sure they will add it at some point. It's kind of inevitable. But the thing is that the value really comes from having control over the full system, having control over driving the traffic, constructing and testing and fine-tuning your landing page, and doing the same with your follow-up. So if you have control over the full system, you can increase your results, whereas if you're reliant on Zillow, paying Zillow a ridiculous amount of money for a zip code and getting leads whenever they come in, you really don't have any control over anything other than calling the lead. So it kind of, again, it's giving the agent the short end of this because they can't improve on the process. They can't improve the lead capture. They're kind of just stuck with whatever they give you.
And you can also chase the trends, too. I mean, like you mentioned Facebook, and now you're mentioning these native ads and whatnot. So you guys are listening, and you guys who are buying leads from Zillia, and you guys are complaining about the cost of the leads and the quality of the leads, the cost going up, quality going down. Hey, I got news for you. News Corp, now owning Realtor.com in essence, you think your lead cost is going to go up or down? Of course it's going to increase, and of course the lead quality is going to go down as more agents get back into the industry. So the bottom line is yes, absolutely. If you control the whole process, you'll understand that you can tweak things, you can change things, you can make things better. So walk these guys through. I would say probably of the 50,000 that will listen this month, probably, 100 understand so far what we're talking about. So your website's very, I'm sure that's been your experience too. So your website is very simple to understand, and we'll talk more about the process. But can you walk these guys through essentially what you offer and what you don't offer? You're not selling leads, so they need to be clear on that. What you're in essence selling is you're selling the result of the lead that they generated. So you're selling the landing page, and I assume you're selling some sort of CRM that's going to follow up with that lead. So you're like the peanut butter in the sandwich in essence, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So we don't sell the leads themselves. We sell the full system. So we have the training on how you can drive traffic and where to drive traffic from and what ads to post, when to post them, that kind of thing. So the full system of driving the traffic. And then you drive the traffic to a landing page. So the landing page, the whole point of it's just a one-page website that the whole idea is to capture the visitor's contact information. So
let me interrupt. Danny, let me interrupt you because we're not dealing with internet marketers here. So a landing page, guys, just like you said, the landing page is and when you go to a website, in essence, you go to any of our websites, you go to Danny's website, you go to Amazon.com for that matter. I mean, in essence, there's something on there that's designed to capture your information. Conceptually, you guys understand because you do it every day. You enter in your name, you enter in your email. In exchange for that, you get something free, or you get the access to the information that you wanted, or you get to watch the video, or whatever it is. So from someone who's been doing internet marketing for the better part of a decade now for our own company, and learning from all of our mistakes, I can tell you that optimizing, in other words, making a landing page work so that folks want to enter in their information, that is witchcraft and alchemy on a good day because it's requiring so much. It's requiring so much testing. And the stupidest, smallest things make the biggest difference. The different shade of blue, the font you're using, where the lead capture box is on the web page. And so, I mean, what Danny is saying is he's saying it's a one-page website, and that's kind of, underselling what it is, what's necessary to make a really good landing page. Because, it's a one-page website, but it's a one-page website that's been optimized. It's a one-page website that someone spent a shit ton of time on trying to get all the details right so that it does convert leads. And that's pretty much what you were trying to say, correct?
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, if I don't do it like that, then we're going to get questions after the radio show, and they're going to be hammering our emails asking what the heck, why would it be, so we have to clarify. All right, good. You teach them, here's where we are. You teach them how to generate the lead. So you mentioned Facebook ads. We'll just talk about that. We won't have to talk about the Facebook ads per se, but say you teach them how to run Facebook ads. They then do what you tell them to do, and they run the Facebook ads, okay? So you guys are then going to, essentially follow his how-to and how to set the Facebook ads up or whatever else. And then after someone clicks on the ad, they're then going to go to one of BoldLeads' landing pages that you guys control. Okay, that's where we're at. Now what happens next?
Okay, so once a prospect hits your landing page, it'll say, what's your home worth? Enter your address to see. So the homeowner will start typing in their address, and the form will actually auto-populate. So it'll actually use the satellite from Google to figure out where they are, and it'll type in their address for them, basically. And that's nice because a lot of people there's this thing called abandonment with landing pages. So people, they won't trust it, or they change their mind, or they get distracted by something else shiny on their computer, and they click off of it. So that helps avoid them clicking off of it so you can capture their information. And after they enter their address, it'll show their home on a map, and it will say, okay, well, we found your home in our database. Where should we send your valuation report to? And then it'll ask for their name, their email, their phone, and if they're selling, what time frame are they selling in? It'll ask them that. And so once they submit that, it sends them, a follow-up sequence. So you can set, in our system, you can set it to send follow-up text messages, which use local phone numbers from your area. That way it looks like a real cell phone is texting them. There's no way they can tell, and if they reply, it goes back to your cell phone. So that's kind of cool. That helps increase the rate that people will actually respond to you versus if you send them like this spammy-looking text. And same with the email. You want the email follow-up to look as least branded as possible, so you don't want that crazy email signature with photos and all these different links and stuff. You want to keep it really simple, like an email that you would shoot to a friend real quick. The simpler, the shorter, the better, and the higher the response rate, which that's really the whole idea, is to start a conversation with people who are interested in selling. Otherwise, it's basically goes back to cold calling if you can't start a conversation.
So you mentioned, well, let me jump in here, Danny, so I can ask.
Sure.
The nature of the ads that you're having these guys, your subscribers, run are offering home valuations. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, so that's the primary way to get sellers.
Okay. Always has been, probably always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have a widget
that
you don't have something that does an automated home valuation. You're basically, it's offering the home valuation. They're then hopping on the site, filling out their request for the home valuation, and then it's up to the agent to do the follow-up and convert that lead into a listing appointment.
Yeah, so we have landing page, it'll give them like an approximate valuation, like a range, from like this dollar amount to that dollar amount. But that's really not really sufficient for a lot of people. And if they're serious about actually selling, they're going to want a more detailed report. So you can just fire up like RPR or Cloud CMA, and that you can create like a CMA report, send them comps and that kind of thing in a couple of minutes. And people really, they enjoy those reports. They get a lot of value out of that. So that helps you get your foot in the door as an agent.
Right. So you mentioned two websites. You said Cloud CMA and RPR, and those companies do automated CMAs. So in essence, if an agent were to be very successful generating a lot of online leads and they had a bunch of CMA requests, there is a system that you can refer them to that will do the CMAs for them, but still follow-up is necessary.
Oh, yeah. Follow-up is where all the fortune is. The fortune of the follow-up. That's where the money is actually made. So we just try to make it a little easier and a little less pressure on the agent, because traditionally, they have to call within 5 minutes, which we should do to get somebody on the phone right away. Otherwise, they're going to forget that they even filled out the form. But we try to make it a little easier by adding the text and the email so that it kind of sparks a little bit of a conversation beforehand, so you're not just calling them out of the blue, trying to force an appointment right off the bat.
Well, okay, so you're now rolling into something else I wanted to ask you about. So you obviously have agents
Sure.
from all different levels of experience, all different markets, all different everything. And I'm wondering, what do you see their best practices? Like, if you could encapsulate the best elements from all of your most successful subscribers, what would be the things that you find in common? You mentioned lead
follow-up process.
Well, you mentioned lead follow-up, but is there anything else? Is there anything else that you're seeing that agents that are being very successful with your platform, what they're doing differently than maybe the agents that, aren't?
Yeah, so one is just contacting the leads. We have tons of agents on our system that they have that call reluctance thing where they're just not comfortable taking up the phone necessarily, which that's okay, but still you really need to get the person on the phone to set an appointment at some point. Otherwise, when it comes down to it, you're still a salesperson. So you kind of still have to do the basic sales stuff. But you don't have to be, really over the top pushy and salesy. A lot of our clients that are doing really well treat it as more of, how would I put it? So one, they always assume the close. So if the person is interested in selling, then they'll just, they're very assumptive in it. So they say, okay, well, the next step is to come over, take a look at the house, see what it's really worth. I need to take a look around the property to give you the most accurate valuation possible, which is true. Because it's like if you're going to trade in your car, you can't just call them and say, what is it worth? They're going to say, well, bring it in. Let's look at it. So it's the same kind of idea. So that's one. The other is when someone visits a landing page on our system, they'll type in their address. So even if they click off of the landing page and say, if they type in their address and they change their mind, oh, I don't want to type in my phone number, I'm not comfortable with that, our system still captures that address and then builds it into a mailing list for you. So all the addresses that are captured are generated like a huge CSV file. So what you can do is you can take that and you can upload it to corefact.com, which is like a very simple to use postcard company. And you can send out a postcard blast because you know that in somewhere there is a hint of them wanting to sell somewhere. There is a little bit of intent if they took the time to actually go to the landing page and type in their address. They're not going to be as hot as the people that say, all right, I'm ready to sell in the next month or 1 to 3 months. But it's better. It's like a lower quality lead, I guess, but it's still a lead. So people that are sending out the postcards to that.
Yeah, Danny, you said something critical there, and this is something, we interview folks that are in the, they sell services to agents, and it's, these are sometimes some of our most popular radio shows, these interviews like what you and I are doing right now, and the one recurring theme amongst all of them, and it seems like, well, duh, Tim, everyone knows that, but does anyone do it, is we call it furiously fast lead follow-up. That's so important, but I like what Danny was saying also. It's not just a furiously fast lead follow-up. It's also following up with the intent of setting an appointment, setting a pre-qualified appointment. And one of the scripts, guys, that we teach all of you to use, because a lot of agents, they've been doing free CMA ads forever, right, is when you call the seller back, you simply say, hello, this is Tim Harris. You just requested the CMA on, whatever the name of the site is. I'm just calling to confirm the information you put in, bedrooms, baths, that sort of thing. And then the next question is, ideally, how soon do you want the home sold? So you went from basically them, then you're jumping right to it. Then you're going to, oh, no, I'm not really interested. We're just curious. I thought this was just a free service. We're just screwing around too. Well, we're thinking about putting it for sale now, or it's about to expire, or we're putting it for sale in the next 90 days, you see. So the furiously fast lead follow-up with the intent of setting the appointment, as Danny said, is where the gold is. And, you guys can do anything you want to, but if you're not doing really focused, fast lead follow-up, you're not going to set appointments, especially listing appointments. So I think that's the secret sauce for anything. It's kind of funny in real estate. If you were to melt down all the best agents, and you were to make a super agent, that super agent basically would the number one superpower they would have would be their ability to really do fast, effective lead follow-up. That's so absolutely critical. So let's talk about what is working. Obviously you teach these guys to do a lot of IM, internet marketing things, and to generate the leads. You mentioned Facebook. What else is working? I'm assuming that the free CMA is the most effective hook right now to get someone to fill out a form. What other platforms do you see a great place where an agent can run a relatively inexpensive ad and get a good return on investment?
Yeah, so Facebook is definitely the cheapest source of leads, $5 and $7 on average, and the direct captures for like 50 cents. So Facebook is the cheapest. It's not going to be the highest quality of lead just because you have to think about when you're on Facebook, you're not necessarily searching for a place, searching to talk to a realtor. But if you target it right, then it actually works out pretty well. But if you want
help
higher...
Danny, let's give these guys some value. So when you say targeting it right, are you meaning basically how you set the ad up in the system, like where you're trying to drill down on who's going to see the ad? Is that what you mean by targeting it right?
Yeah, exactly. So Facebook offers a ridiculous suite of demographics targeting. So what we recommend that you target homeowners, so you can target homeowners over the age of 35. Because we know that the average seller in the U.S. is about 39, 40. And so over the age of 35 homeowners, and then you want to target it by zip code. So you want to enter the zip codes that, you want to get business in. And you're going to get leads from outside of those areas, but
refer them off to other agents, Just smart, like SmartZip, they'll go in and they'll figure out, like, the average length of the time that someone's been in a home. Does Facebook capture information like that?
A little bit. I'm not sure how accurate it is, because they're relying on third-party sources, but they do know who owns a home, who makes over $100,000 a year, stuff like that. Gotcha.
Good. So aside from Facebook, what else do you see that's working? What else are your best users talking about?
Google AdWords and Bing, like Microsoft Ad Center, are always great. Just because if you're searching on a search engine, then you automatically have intent. Like you're not going to search for something that you don't want necessarily. So if you're searching, find out what my house is worth online or something like that, then you obviously want a home valuation, and there's obviously a reason why you want it. You're either going to be refinancing, you're going to be selling, something to that effect. So because there's intent for the search, it's usually a higher quality lead. The only bad thing about Google and Bing is that the cost per lead is way higher than like Facebook, that kind of thing. Just because there's way more competition.
That goes back to something, Dan, that you and I were talking about at the top of a radio show today, and that something that works today, Facebook, for example, and maybe even like 7-8 years ago, Zillow would have been a great source, of affordable, the agent's getting unquestionably great value for the lead that they're buying. Well, a year from now, Facebook could just be ridiculously expensive. They could change a couple algorithms, and the next thing you know, that dollar lead now costs $20. So, that's the whole.
Exactly.
And you're obviously one of the services you provide to your users is you're, hanging out with probably the top tier internet marketing guys, and you're paying really close attention to what's next, happening next. You mentioned, the different types of ads and stuff. So I like that. That's good. I like the fact that you're not just selling a landing page. You're selling a landing page, and you're showing agents how to make it work. So let's talk about cost.
Right.
What does something like this cost?
So our system, if you want to do it yourself, so we have two different options basically. One is the whole software, the follow-up system, the landing pages, and the training is $99 a month. And then if you want us to run your ads for you, it's $199 a month. And then there's a $199 setup fee for that.
How would that work with budgets? So basically someone were to start with you and let's say they don't want to do anything, which is probably a majority of the agents you deal with, I'm guessing. And they just want to basically have you manage everything for them. It's $199 a month, but that doesn't include the actual advertising, right?
Right. So we recommend at least a $250 ad budget, which is pretty darn conservative for pay-per-click ads. And we'll run ads. Usually we'll test out to see, because different areas have different response rates and that kind of thing. So diverse, especially because we're doing Canada too. So some areas just don't work with Facebook, and some work incredibly well. So we usually will start out by running ads on 3 different platforms, Bing, Google, and Facebook, and then seeing which ones perform the best, and then we'll optimize those as we go.
Well, so that's interesting. So you're saying in different, obviously countries, but also in different markets, one platform might work better than the other. That's kind of surprising to me. Did I hear you correctly?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's just a demographic issue, but I can tell you that it's also probably because some areas are crazy competitive, because we're not the only people marketing on Google. You know, there's millions and millions of companies marketing on Google, and there's probably, like, if you're in San Diego and you type in San Diego home values or something to that effect, there are so many ads, it's ridiculous. So the cost per click is going to be incredibly high because it works like an auction. So the more bidders that there are for a certain keyword, the higher the cost. So you're going to be paying like $50 a lead.
So someone that was running to run an ad, for example, offering CMAs in San Diego or LA or really probably any of the major markets in the country, they're probably going to be better off if they run more targeted ads, and that's something you can do for them or show them how to do. So, like, for example, Julie and I sold real estate in New Albany, Ohio, Worthington, Ohio. So if we would have run an ad that said Columbus, Ohio home values, that would have been expensive versus if we had said New Albany home values, for example, where it would have been less competition and given us the traffic that we were truly after. That's what you're describing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
So it's all
right,
experiment.
So the other thing I like about your company is that you're not requiring these guys to sign long-term contracts. I mean, that's the same way we do it too, and I think that's something that you should be saluted for because unless you've changed that policy, I'm correct, you don't have contracts, right?
No, we do have incentives for if you do sign a 3-month agreement. We have had problems because some agents just don't want to work the leads, and it's a ton of work for us to set everything up and get them going. So it's a pain if they want to drop off after a week because they don't see any listings. But most agents do see results, within a month or two.
Good. And again, guys, and this is a lot of you are looking for more spokes on your lead generation wheel. And this is a clever one. And again, I like this company because he's doing all the hard work for you. And trust me, I've had to waste many, many thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars of doing what he's, essentially selling to you guys for $100 a month. So that's kind of novel. And I like the fact that it's geared towards seller leads. So for that, Danny, I really appreciate the service you're providing. I think you're timed perfectly in the marketplace. More agents are waking up to the fact that chasing buyer leads is an exercise in futility. And I think you're on the right path, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Tim. That means a lot.
Anything else you'd like to say to our listeners as we round up today's show?
Did you want me to go into any of the actual tactics or tips or anything?
You know what?
You. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's do it. So guys, we're going to do a little bit of bonus on today's radio show. So go right ahead. So Danny's ready, and I'm interested in what he has to say too. So I'm taking notes. Go for it.
Okay, I'll make it quick. So let's see. What should we start with? So we do a lot of training webinars and training classes in live person and stuff on different techniques, and I'll give you 5 or 6 different techniques that really no one else is pursuing that aggressively yet. So one, let's start with Nextdoor. So Nextdoor.com is a neighborhood social network site. So each neighborhood in the entire country has a Nextdoor page. They don't all have people in them yet, but a lot of the bigger ones do. So what's cool about that is each neighborhood has a wall, kind of like Facebook has a wall, and each neighborhood has a directory of everyone who lives in the neighborhood and their contact information. So what you can do is, post a weekly or monthly update of how the home prices are doing, the average home value, if there's been any sales in the neighborhood, that kind of thing. Just establish yourself as an expert. And it's cool because every time you post on there, it sends out an email blast to every single person in the neighborhood. So if there's not one in the area that you live, you can start one. It's free, as far as I know. And what they'll do is they send postcards out to every single person in the neighborhood to get them to sign up for this site. So if you're kind of the guy starting it, then you have so much power because, everyone's heard of farming and sending out those cheesy postcards over and over again, trying to convince people to call them. But this way, it's like a new way of farming. It's a lot less tacky, I think, just because everybody gets bombarded with those ads and those postcards. So if you're doing it online on the social kind of platform, you don't want to be too salesy and send them pitches and stuff. But if you're a helpful, friendly neighborhood guy doing free CMAs for your neighbors kind of thing, it works really, really well. and it's totally free. The next one.
Well, let me throw something that I hate to tail in something you just said because you said it so elegantly, but sometimes, guys, another thing to do is be sensitive to when your local properties are being reevaluated, because another great thing to do is offer free CMAs for the sake of contesting their property tax values. So this is another idea for you. That's very, very effective in states like Texas, where the property taxes are so high because there's no income tax. So, sorry, go ahead.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
You can have that one.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely something everybody should check out just because it's totally free. Another thing that it's been around for a while, but agents still have never heard of it when I bring it up, are these referral sites. So there's sites like Movoto.com, Agent Pronto, Estately.com, Referral Exchange, Agent Machine. You can just do a search on Google for this, but there's these sites that they generate leads on their own. And a lot of these people, they'll qualify the lead for you, and then they'll refer them out to you, and they just take a 25% cut, but it's basically free business. And a lot of these leads are pretty high quality. They do have buyer and listing. So I know agents that are closing at least 5 deals a month just from these sites. So it's like a free source of business, basically. Another way is Zillow.com. Now, this has been said a few times before, but I'll go over it anyway. Zillow has a section called Make Me Move. And so what that is people can say, if I were to sell, I'd sell for this much money. So what you can do is you can go through, see all the people that have marked Make Me Move in your area, send them a quick message, or send them a link to your landing page, and get them in your funnel and start following up. A lot of these people are very early in the stage of selling, but we have agents that are closing a lot of deals just from this. So just because a lot of people don't want to take the time to do it manually, but you can hire like a virtual assistant on Odesk for a couple bucks an hour, knock them all out in your whole market area, and get a few leads for it. So that's an easy way to generate some listings. Another thing that I've seen work really well is instead of sending out farming postcards with what's your home worth or sell your house fast or I have buyers in your area type messaging, I've seen some agents send out postcards with join our neighborhood Facebook group. So the agent will start a Facebook group for the neighborhood and market that instead of marketing their own service. And then what that has done is it's basically given them an audience of everyone that lives in their target market, and they can continually market to them on Facebook because everybody's on Facebook all the time. So that's a super easy way to generate like a farm that's totally responsive to you, and we'll see you as the expert because you're the host. It's kind of like the next door concept. You're running the show, so you already have that clout.
Yeah, I love those ideas. And on that Facebook group too, you could do like there's a church group that's looking for donations. There's a lost kitty. Someone saw a coyote in the neighborhood. Right. There's lots of different things you could do to get people to actually be receptive to the information you're providing there. And I like, you're right. I mean, you have to not be overtly aggressive in your pitchiness, otherwise people will turn you off. Right. That's true. It's just a nice way to kind of slip under the radar. Yeah, that's good. I love those ideas. Those are fantastic. So that's really neat. Any other ideas come to mind? I have so many. But I go through a lot of these in gruesome detail. If you want like more information on these, I'm doing a free webinar. I think it's this Thursday. So people can sign up for that if they want more detail on that, because I don't really have time to go into all of them. But well, we'll include a link in the email that we're sending out, because most of our listeners listen in replay, so we'll send out a link so they can listen in replay to today's show, and then get your information that way. So really appreciate you being my co-host today. I've learned a lot. Tim and I were, Mr. Ventura and I were chatting back and forth, and we were writing down some of these URLs that you were mentioning. I have to say there's agents across the country right now whose teeth are rattling because you mentioned the Make Me Move thing, because that's been a nice little secret way to get future FSBOs. And, the other thing is if you run those filters on Zillow, you can also find out the guys, of course you can get this information in a variety of different places, but the very early pre-foreclosures, when the notice of defaults have been filed, that's always been a great source because, hey, guess what? Those sellers are motivated. They have to sell. the for rent by owners or killer listing source too, because a lot of these owners are reluctant landlords. They just got stuck with a property and they'd love to sell them. That's the cool thing about going after listings. You do have to make an effort, but there's so few agents that are willing to take the time to actually pursue it, and it's so much more lucrative than chasing buyer leads.
Right.
It's not even funny. If you guys want buyer leads, here's an idea for you. Take a listing, and you'll have to beat the buyers off with a stick, and that'll always be true. So embrace the new market, embrace this new real estate boom, accept the fact that we're in a long-term, ever-increasing real estate market. Every single housing statistic that's been coming out is reinforcing that message. And guys, accept the fact that, especially rolling into the new year, that being a listing agent's where it's at. It's where it's always been, and it's where it will always be. So, Danny, thank you very much for being my co-host today. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and we will definitely have you back, assuming you have time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, man. Have a great day.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.